absolute pleasure to be joined by Richard Boerner. Richard's got more than 3 decades in leadership roles around the world. And to cut that very short, the highlight I would say for Rich has been induction into the Hall of Fame by the Association of the Advancement of International Education. And congratulations, Rich, once again on that honor.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Let's get going. Tell me, what motivates you to be a leader in the educational space?
I think no matter what vocation you hold and role you play, I think impact has to be at the center of what we all do. And so for me, what really inspires me is the opportunity to provide and create impact, ways in which I can improve system structures and opportunities for others, and bring to bear maybe perhaps some expertise and understanding I have, but importantly, the ideas of others that can generate and create improvement. So for me, everything begins and ends with impact.
Yeah. So let's be thinking about that concept of impact in terms of the future of education, and where do you see that going? What role might you have some impact in there, Rich?
Stay optimistic and positive in the moment, and so but I do want to say I think there's a convergence that we might face, or I think we do face, and many times I think over the many decades that people have been talking about and opining about transformation and innovation and change in education, we say, oh yeah, this is the moment, and then nothing changes and nothing happens.
Right.
I think we are at finally a real precipice, and I think we're being forced into that by forms of technology and by the rapid change of how people are going to work in the world. And so for me, I think there's two paths that come forward when I think about the future of education. One is that we do nothing and we become increasingly irrelevant, and the schools that do the least will be the least likely to succeed in the future, and they'll be impacted by all kinds of factors, economic factors and enrollment factors and those kinds of things, because they haven't provided what kids actually need, and they haven't fulfilled what society demands of young people in a new and developing workforce. In a more optimistic lens of that, I would say that we finally innovate. We allow students to learn when they need to, the way they need to, at the speed and pace that they need to. And I think there are lots of advances in technology that allow us to do that. And we as educators move away from content delivery into really providing those metacognitive strategies and approaches that people use to adapt and change to a wide array of skill sets that they're going to need over what will be the next 40 years, a rapid transformation of the workforce.
Rich, let's dive a little bit deeper into that area, specifically around AI, and what's your thinking around this topic as a leader, as an educator?
It's important to take a very, very keen eye, and obviously a cautious one. I think there's a lot of opportunity in AI, and there's also certainly some questions we need to answer. But I'll make a prediction, and I'll say in less than 5 years, maybe more like 3 years, that in many schools, AI will be the main delivery force of content in learning, and that educators will be architects of learning, they'll be coaches, they'll be diagnosticians of learning, and that they will work very closely with students in the comprehension of that learning and its application rather than delivering it. I think that is remarkable transformation if it happens, because it'll allow the student to learn at the speed and pace and time in which they need it, and at the level that they can handle it. That will increase exponentially students' ability to grasp knowledge, information, and do something with it of worth than the way that we do now in kind of a more traditional factory model, where kids need to know something at the same time every day, or be assessed in the same space, the same way at the same time. So for me, I think that AI has a real powerful positioning of space in education if used wisely. For me, on a personal level, as I've launched out with TrueFit Talent as a new startup, we're leveraging AI very similarly in talent development, recruitment, and retention. And our whole focus there is to use technology in a way to amass information that we can't handle and process at bulk as human beings. So we're limited by cognitive load, we're limited by a lot of things that as we process information, we get things wrong. And actually AI can be less biased than can individuals when we look at information. So we think that there's a way to really assess information in a more powerful way to get at more equity for people and a chance for them to show what they can actually do and accomplish rather than where they went to school or what job they've held. Yeah, critically important. So first of all, I think we do a poor job in many nations around the world in teacher preparation. So in order to make students or young people be accessible to education and successful in it, they need to experience it. So if I use an example from the medical field, doctors and nurses go through rigorous in-person experiences for thousands of hours before they become licensed. In education, we go through thousands of hours of sitting in a classroom and then a few hundred hours, if lucky, in a classroom. Why in the world do we do that to educators? And then we wonder why after a few years they burn out, they're not prepared, they're not successful, they haven't had the actual experience, they haven't been with a mentor, master teacher to guide and process how to go through the cultural adaptation of becoming an educator.
Yeah.
And so I think we've got some work to do. And I think if we were to build a pipeline of people that actually have the skills and dispositions to know education well, because they've been inside of it as they've been learning all the pedagogical approaches, the science of learning with it, we would find ourselves with a lot less shortage because people would stay in the industry a lot longer. An average teacher staying in the industry, 3 years now? That is not a pipeline that's going to build a continuity of individuals. And so before we can grow and expand the volume of teacher candidates, we first got to take care of the ones that are even committing to it in the beginning.
Thanks, Rich. You're coming off 10 years, a decade. Congratulations at graded as superintendent, and obviously many years of leadership before that. Rich, what's one piece of advice we can distill from you that you'd want to pass on to others, either entering into leadership or who are currently in a leadership role?
To give advice, especially to people coming into leadership roles, it would be to be prepared to embrace change. That change inherently is something that we resist as humans, but it's something that's absolutely necessary. And the sooner that I think you can become adept to handle the change process, make sense of it, help people guide them through the process of change, you can evolve and ensure relevance in your leadership, relevance in your structures and systems at your school, and most importantly, on behalf of your students. So it all boils down to the ability to adapt to change.
Richard Boerner, absolute pleasure as always to have you on Voices of Change. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate the opportunity and good to see you. Take care.